We told you last week we'd be reviewing a cat this week. We figured that would garner some guesses, and you'd probably guess tiger cat, bear cat, maybe even tomcat. I'll bet not many of you guessed wildcat. What's up, everybody? You're watching Model Aviator. My name's Adam, and we do have a cat this week, as promised. This is the, if you go to the website, BlitzRCWorks, if you read the manual, LX Hobby and Skyflight Hobby. I don't know who makes this thing. I know it's made somewhere in China, and you can get yours at Banana Hobby. Now, when it comes to wildcats, if this is an airplane you like and you want a foamy, this is it. There have been hand tossers made. This is the only one out there that I know of that actually has some cool features. It does have retractable gear. It does have folding wings, and for me, the folding wings are the coolest part of this airplane. So we'll go over some of the features. It is an 1100 millimeter foam warbird. It is 5-channel, does not have flaps. You'll notice that our buddy Carl, who owns this airplane, thanks to Carl for letting us borrow it for a month to get a review done on this thing. You'll notice that he has this bungee cord here hooked between the two aileron push rods. That is because without that, you can see that the wings just kind of fall away and don't stay back in the fully retracted position. So that is why he stores it that way, and with it like that, it's just such a compact airplane. It's so easy to store, and I love that about it. Now, to bring the wings out, they're not operated by a servo, sorry, they are mechanical, like the full-scale airplane. It didn't have hydraulic wings. You just bring them forward. There is a rod right here that you unscrew, you slide it forward, that slides a little metal rod into a plastic sleeve in the outer part of the wing, and then you simply screw that in and tighten it up. And that locks the wing into place. We'll do the same thing over here. And that's all there is to it. Getting the wings locked in place, and there is your Wildcat ready to fly. So the wings for me and how compact it is, that is a real plus. Now, a caveat and minus of the same exact thing is because it does not have a full-length carbon spar, these wings are very, very flexible. So that causes it to do some interesting things in flight if you're not smooth. We'll talk about that during the flight footage and during the sum up at the end. The other cool thing is the retractable gear. Now, it has retractable gear. I don't have a battery in it, so we're not going to retract it here. You'll see it in the flight footage, but they actually retract in the same way from a mechanical standpoint that the full-scale gear retracts. They are not electric retracts, they're actually mechanical retracts, which means they're operated by a servo, and they are spring-loaded. So the servo is set up, and you cannot adjust this in your transmitter. I tried to slow it down. It's set up so that it defeats that spring on both ends. So when you retract the gear, they slam up really fast. When you extend them, they slam down really fast, and they lock into place. So it is a plus and a minus at the same time. It's awesome that it has retracts and that they function from a mechanical standpoint the way the full-scale gear function, but it's a minus that it happens so fast instead of the nice, slow, hydraulically controlled gear in the full-scale airplane. So plus and a minus there as well. A real minus to me is this goofy little battery hatch. That's the whole battery hatch. Takes a 2200 4-cell. Now when I say 2200 4-cell, I mean 2200 4-cell. You can't get anything else in here because you have to put it in there a long ways, and that's the only way it fits. And by the way, the shorter the 4-cell, the better. So very, very limited in the kind of battery that you can use. That's just kind of funky, not having a top hatch. So all of the features of this airplane are good and bad depending upon your perspective. Some of the features cause the airplane to fly in a little bit different manner than most 1100mm warbirds, and again we'll talk about that during the flight footage and as well in our sum up at the end. So that's pretty much the only thing I can say about the airplane, other than it does come in another paint scheme, which is a pre-World War II paint scheme. It's silver with yellow wings, so it'd be much, much brighter. Now that's kind of a nice segue into the reason that we had Carl's airplane for a month trying to get an episode filmed with this thing. This paint scheme really does work well as it was intended on the full-scale airplane. It's intended to be camouflage. It's intended to be difficult to see this airplane if you're looking down into the ocean or if you're looking up into a blue sky. It's supposed to be really tough to find this airplane, and that is true. Heidi had a heck of a time keeping this thing in the viewfinder. It's one of the hardest airplanes to film that she's filmed because of the paint scheme. And our camera, which has a very, very good autofocus, had a really tough time staying focused on this thing. So we shot this thing literally 10 or 12 times trying to compile footage good enough to show you folks at 2 different venues, several different times a day, several different lighting conditions, just trying to find the right combination where Heidi could stay with it and the camera would work. So yeah, that's why we've had it so long. That paint scheme works. So with that, we're going to show you our setup page, which there's not much to it. It's not our airplane. We haven't really done anything drastic to it. Not that we would. I think if I owned this airplane, I wouldn't do anything to it other than just set it up and fly it. So pretty simple setup page, normal stuff. You'll see that here in just a second. And then after the setup page, we'll go straight to the flying footage. After that, we'll see it back here on the bench where we'll sum this bad boy up. So check out this flying footage and we'll see you in a bit. We're going to start you off here showing you a couple of the interesting things about the plane. Here we're going to stall it just to demonstrate how abrupt, some might say violent or severe. Look at how hard that thing breaks to the left, and you have to smoothly ease it out. You lose a good bit of altitude there. Now here I'm doing a barrel roll, and I'm going to come out of this a little low, so I'm pulling a little harder than I normally would. Now that right hand turn it's taking right now, that's uncommanded. I'm trying to just simply pull straight back and finish the maneuver, and that is what the wing flex causes if you pull a little bit too hard. You see there how quickly the gear comes up. This overcast day was one of the better days for the camera's autofocus as well as Heidi. Much easier to keep this thing in the viewfinder and much easier on the camera in the overcast conditions. You'll see here at the finish of this barrel roll, unlike the first one we showed you, I don't have to pull too hard. I recover at the altitude I planned on, and the wings don't flex. The airplane doesn't do anything weird. The Wildcat has plenty of power on 4-cell. That wasn't a full throttle pass, and there's plenty of throttle left, even after a conservative pass, to do realistic vertical maneuvers. It allows you to simulate the momentum that a full-scale warbird carries with its power simply by using the power of the model. In my opinion, that's a really key component to making a model warbird look more like a full-scale warbird. It's useful to be able to lead into a maneuver at a speed that looks more realistic and use extra power to maintain the vertical maneuver, rather than having to go full speed and come into the maneuver at a speed that looks more like it fits an F-16 than a World War II fighter. We're now into footage at a different venue, different day, much later in the evening. Pretty windy this day. This is just a quick demonstration of the Wildcat's capability to take off and land from grass. Got some bonus footage for you here from the same venue, same afternoon as the grass takeoff and landings. The lighting was just really beautiful, made the airplane look good, and we were able to get enough footage over a few flights to put some neat things together for you. So enjoy this, and we'll see you back in the shop. Hope you enjoyed the flying footage. So you'll notice I didn't mention anything about the assembly of this aircraft. That's because I didn't assemble it, but I did talk to Carl, who owns the airplane, and from talking to Carl, we came to the conclusion that if somebody has built 2 or 3 foamy warbirds, they'll have the modeling skills necessary to build this airplane. There's nothing really exceptional about it. Not a big deal. Goes together pretty easy. When it comes to the flying, you saw the flying. Right off the bat, we hit you up with the stall test and with a little mistake I made when I came out of a maneuver a little bit lower than I wanted to, and I had to pull a little bit harder than I intended. The wings flexed, airplane kind of took a slight right turn on its own, uncommanded. So because these wings, as cool as they are for doing this, because they flex, because they don't have a stiff carbon spar, the length of the wings, that is something that could cause an issue if you're not smooth and deliberate. So the flying skills required, just to sum them up from takeoff to landing, is when it comes to taking this airplane off, I don't find the rudder skills and throttle skills exceptional with this airplane. It's pretty easy to take off if you are used to dealing with P-factor and taking an airplane off slow and scale. This, if you can do it with any other tail dragger, this is not really going to challenge you too terribly much. When it comes to flying, if you're smooth and deliberate, it flies great. If you're herky-jerky, that could present a problem for you. You definitely don't want to get it super slow, low, because the stall is violent, and if you get too low and that happens, you're not going to have enough room to recover. When it comes to landing, you need to be used to flaring with both throttle and elevator. It requires both to get the nose up, get it as slow as you can get it. So it flies very well when you fly it right. Would it be a good airplane for somebody that's never flown a warbird as a first warbird? Probably not. I think you'd be better served to fly something that's a little bit more forgiving, slows down a little bit better, landing, has a little stiffer spar, so it doesn't do weird things if you haven't developed being smooth and deliberate yet. Other than that, the only other thing I can really say, remember me telling you that the shorter the battery, the better. Well, this is what I mean. If you notice this HRB and this E-flite, you'll notice right here in the center that the E-flite is not as tall as the HRB. When you put the batteries in this airplane, you have to stow the wires away underneath that little hatch. This slightly shorter battery, the E-flite being just a slightly shorter 2200 4-cell for some reason, it makes getting the battery in and out of that airplane and getting that hatch on and off much easier for some reason. So just thought we'd share that with you. And that pretty much sums this bad boy up. We like it. We recommend it. The experience with this particular airplane from Banana Hobby went really well. Carl got it. Everything worked right off the bat. It assembled well. It's flown well the entire time, and nothing has broken. Nothing has failed. So it's been a good experience. So if you want one, you can get yours at Banana Hobby, and we will see you next week. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Take care of yourselves, and happy flying.